The phone buzzed on my nightstand at 2:47 a.m., jolting me awake. I squinted at the screen through bleary eyes, expecting a work emergency or maybe a spam call. Instead, I saw a notification from our home security system. Front door opened. My wife Emily wasn't beside me. Her side of the bed was cold. I grabbed my phone and opened the security app, my heart already hammering against my ribs. The timestamp showed 2:43 a.m., 4 minutes ago. I scrolled to the camera feed and watched the playback. There was Emily, slipping out our front door in the black dress she'd worn to her book club meeting earlier that evening. She glanced back once, then disappeared into the darkness. Book club. On a Thursday night. Until almost 3 a.m. My hands shook as I opened the location-sharing app we'd set up years ago when our daughter Olivia was born. For emergencies, Emily had said, so we can always find each other. The blue dot representing my wife's phone pulsed steadily from an address I didn't recognize, 15 miles away in the Riverside district. I sat there in the dark of our bedroom, in the house we'd bought 7 years ago, surrounded by the life we'd built together, and felt something crack inside my chest. This wasn't the first strange thing I'd noticed. Over the past 3 months, Emily had become increasingly distant. More girls' nights out. More late meetings at the marketing firm where she worked as a senior director. More time on her phone, angled away from me, her face illuminated by that telltale blue glow while she smiled at messages I wasn't allowed to see. Just work stuff, she'd say whenever I asked. You know how demanding the Peterson account is. I'd believed her because I wanted to, because we had a good marriage, or so I thought. We had Olivia, our brilliant 8-year-old daughter who had Emily's green eyes and my stubborn determination. We had date nights, family vacations, inside jokes. We had a life, but now, at 2:51 a.m. on a Thursday in October, watching that blue dot pulse from an unfamiliar address, I knew the truth I'd been avoiding. My wife was having an affair. I should have confronted her right then. Called her. Demanded answers. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I grabbed my laptop and opened our cellular account. As the primary account holder, I had access to everything. Call logs, text message records, data usage patterns. The records loaded slowly, each second stretching into eternity. When they finally appeared, I felt my stomach drop. Hundreds of calls to a single number over the past 4 months. Some lasting minutes, others over an hour. Most occurred during her commute or lunch breaks, but plenty happened late at night. Times when she'd been in our bathroom or downstairs, getting water. I cross-referenced the number with the reverse lookup site. The name that appeared made my blood run cold. Trevor Blackwood. I knew that name. He was the new creative director at Emily's firm, hired in June. She'd mentioned him exactly twice. Once when he started, once when he'd really impressed everyone with his campaign ideas. June. 4 months ago. Right when the distance between us had started. I pulled up our credit card statements next, something I rarely check since Emily handled most of our finances. She was better with numbers, more organized. I'd trusted her completely. There, buried among grocery purchases and gas station charges, were anomalies I'd never noticed. Hotel charges in our own city. Why would she need a hotel when we lived 20 minutes from her office? Expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together. Charges from a boutique lingerie store I'd never seen her bags from. Each line item was a knife twist, proof of a parallel life I'd been too blind to see. The blue dot on the location app suddenly started moving. I watched it travel through streets, heading back toward our neighborhood. She was coming home. I had maybe 20 minutes. My mind raced through options. Confront her now? Gather more evidence? Pretend I didn't know? Each choice felt impossible, each one a path toward a future I couldn't imagine. Then I thought of Olivia, asleep down the hall in her room decorated with astronomy posters and spelling bee ribbons. What would this do to her? What was I supposed to tell our daughter about why mommy and daddy were splitting up? The rage hit me then, sudden and overwhelming. Not the hot, explosive kind, something colder, more calculating. Emily had made her choices. She'd chosen to lie, to sneak around, to destroy everything we'd built. She'd chosen this Trevor Blackwood over her family, over the vows we'd made 9 years ago in front of everyone we loved. Fine. She'd made her choice. Now I'd make mine. I grabbed a notebook and started documenting everything. Timestamps from the security system, screenshots of the location data, call logs, credit card statements. I photographed her side of the closet, noting the outfits missing that she'd never worn around me. I backed up everything to a cloud drive she didn't know about. By the time I heard her car in the driveway at 3:17 a.m., I had 34 pages of evidence and a plan forming in my mind. I closed the laptop, slipped back under the covers, and waited. The front door opened quietly. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, careful and measured. The bathroom door closed. Water ran. She was washing away the evidence of wherever she'd been, whatever she'd done. When she finally slid into bed beside me, smelling of unfamiliar cologne and lies, I kept my breathing steady and even. She thought I was asleep. She had no idea the war had just begun. I waited until her breathing settled into the rhythm of sleep. Real sleep, not the performance I'd given her. It took 43 minutes. At 4 in the morning, I slid out of bed with the same careful movement she'd used hours earlier. The floorboards knew exactly where to creak. I avoided those spots. In my office, I closed the door until just a sliver of hallway remained visible. Enough to hear if she moved. Not enough to let light escape. The documentation had been quick work, driven by adrenaline and the ticking clock of her return. Now I needed to be thorough. I started with the phone records, going back further. 6 months. 8. The calls to Trevor Blackwood's number began exactly 4 months and 3 days ago. June 18th. A Tuesday. I pulled up Emily's work calendar from our shared cloud account, something she'd set up years ago for coordinating Olivia's schedule. She'd never removed my access. June 18th had a notation. Welcome lunch, new creative team. There it was, the beginning. The calls started casual. 3 minutes, 7 minutes. Standard work communication, but by July they'd stretched longer. 20-minute calls. 45-minute calls. Late-night calls that Emily had taken in our backyard, or in her car, or locked in our bathroom with the shower running. I'd thought nothing of it at the time. She was managing a new team member. Of course, there'd be coordination needed. The credit card statements painted the rest of the picture. I downloaded PDFs going back 6 months and opened a spreadsheet. Every hotel charge had a corresponding gap in Emily's location history. Times when she'd disabled tracking, claiming her phone battery had died, or that the app was glitching. I'd believed her. Why wouldn't I? The restaurants were high-end, the kind of places we used to go for anniversaries. Stella's on 5th. The Copper Room. Margot. Each charge was for 2 people, based on the amounts. Each occurred on a night Emily had claimed to be working late or attending a work dinner. She'd used our money to date him. The thought sat in my chest like a stone. I created a timeline in the spreadsheet. Dates, locations, charges, phone calls, all color-coded. Green for confirmed evidence. Yellow for suspicious patterns. Red for outright lies I could prove. There was a lot of red. The lingerie purchases had all happened at Bella Intimates, a boutique downtown. 4 separate transactions over 3 months. I checked my photos from the same time periods. Pictures of Emily at home, at Olivia's school events, at weekend brunches. She'd never worn any of it around me. I sat back in my chair, staring at the spreadsheet. 96 rows of data. 96 pieces of evidence spanning 4 months. My email pinged softly. I'd forgotten to silence it. A message from my brother Daniel, sent at 3:47 a.m. his time. He lived in Seattle. The subject line read, "You up?" I opened it. "Saw you active on Steam at a weird hour. Everything okay?" I must have triggered some notification by being online. Daniel paid attention to details like that. It's what made him good at his job, software security analyst. It's also what made him the only person I could trust with this. I hit reply. "Need to talk. Can you call tomorrow?" "Not tonight. Tomorrow." I needed time to think. Time to plan. Time to decide what I was actually going to do with all this evidence. His response came within seconds. "I'll call at noon your time. Serious?" "Very." "Okay, I'm here." I closed the email and returned to my spreadsheet. The data needed organization, categories, a structure that would make the pattern undeniable. Because that was the thing about Emily. She was smart. Marketing director smart. She'd built campaigns that convinced thousands of people to buy products they didn't need. She knew how to craft narratives, how to manage perception. If I confronted her without ironclad evidence, she'd spin this. She'd make me doubt what I knew to be true. She'd done it before with smaller things. A forgotten dinner reservation I was certain I'd made, a conversation she swore never happened. I wasn't going to let her rewrite this. I created a new folder in my cloud storage, named it Tax Documents 2019-2023. Boring. The kind of thing Emily would never open. Inside, I uploaded everything. Phone records, credit card statements, screenshots of her location history, the timeline spreadsheet. I made copies and uploaded them to a separate cloud service under an email address I'd created in college and never told her about. Then I printed physical copies. All 96 pages. The printer hummed quietly in the corner, spitting out page after page of evidence. I kept the volume low, but each mechanical sound felt deafening in the silent house. I was sliding the papers into a manila envelope when I heard it. Footsteps. Emily's footsteps, soft on the hallway carpet. I shoved the envelope into my desk drawer and closed the cloud storage windows, pulling up a work email instead. My heart hammered against my ribs. The office door opened wider. "Can't sleep." Emily's voice was rough with sleep. She stood in the doorway wearing one of my old t-shirts, her hair mussed, looking like the woman I'd married 9 years ago. "Work email," I said, not turning around. "Jenkins needs the quarterly report revised before the morning meeting. It's 4 in the morning. He sent it at midnight. You know how he is." She patted closer, and I could smell her shampoo. The same shampoo she'd been using for years. Lavender and something else. The scent used to comfort me. Now it made my stomach turn. "Come back to bed," she said, her hand resting on my shoulder. "It can wait a few hours." I saved the email, an actual work email from 3 days ago, and closed the laptop. "Yeah, you're right." I stood and she wrapped her arms around me. A hug. a simple gesture we'd done thousands of times. I hugged her back and felt nothing. That was the worst part. Not the anger, which still burned cold and steady in my chest. Not the betrayal, which sat like broken glass in my throat. The worst part was the absence. The complete void where love used to be. 4 hours ago, I'd loved this woman. I'd built a life with her. I'd have done anything for her. Now she was a stranger wearing my wife's face. We walked back to the bedroom together. She climbed into bed, and I followed, lying on my back in the dark. "Love you," she whispered, already half asleep again. The words came automatically. "Love you too." Another lie. We were both liars now. I stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathe in even out. Watching the digital clock tick through the minutes. 4:17. 4:18. 4:19. In a few hours, Olivia would wake up. I'd make her breakfast, probably the chocolate chip pancakes she loved. Emily would rush through her morning routine, claiming an early meeting. She'd kiss Olivia goodbye, squeeze my hand, and walk out the door to a life I was no longer part of. And I'd smile and wave and pretend I didn't know, because I wasn't ready yet. The evidence was documented, the timeline was clear, but I needed more than proof of what she'd done. I needed to understand why. I needed to know if she planned to leave or if she was content to keep both lives running parallel. I needed to know what she'd told him about me, about Olivia, about our marriage. I needed to know every detail before I burned it all down. Daniel would help me think through it. He'd always been the strategic one, the planner. I was the one who acted on instinct, on emotion. Not this time. This time, I'd be patient, methodical. I'd gather every piece of information until the picture was complete. Then I'd decide what to do with it. The clock read 4:47 when I finally closed my eyes. I didn't sleep. The alarm went off at 6:30, same as every morning. Emily stirred beside me, her hand reaching out to silence her phone before the second chime. I'd been awake for 3 hours. "Morning," she murmured, rolling toward me. Her hair was tangled, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. She'd showered when she got home. I'd heard the water running at 3:40, but she'd reapplied her makeup before bed. A strange choice, unless she wanted to maintain the illusion of having worn it all evening. "Morning." I kept my voice neutral. Soft. She kissed my shoulder, then slipped out of bed. I watched her move through the familiar routine. Bathroom, closet, the quiet efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. She selected a navy dress, the one with the belt that emphasized her waist. Professional. Polished. I wondered if Trevor would see her in it today. "Coffee?" she called from the hallway. "I'll get it. You're running late." A pause. "Thank you." I found her in the kitchen 10 minutes later, scrolling through her phone while the coffee maker hissed and dripped. She didn't look up when I entered. "Busy day?" I asked. "Campaign review at 9, then back-to-back meetings until 3. She set down her phone, finally meeting my eyes. "I might be late again tonight. We're still finalizing the Riverside account." Riverside, where she'd been at 2:47 a.m. "How late?" 7, maybe 8. "I'll text you." She poured coffee into her travel mug, added cream. 2 sugars, same as always. "Can you pick up Olivia from soccer?" "Of course." She kissed my cheek on her way out. I smelled her perfume, the expensive one, the bottle I'd given her last Christmas. She'd been wearing it when she came home this morning. The door closed. Her car started. I stood at the kitchen window and watched her back out of the driveway, her hand lifting in a small wave as she passed. I didn't wave back. I called Daniel at 7:15, catching him before his morning run. "You sound terrible," he said. "Didn't sleep much." "The situation?" "She went out again, got home at 3:17. A long silence. Then, "You documented it?" "Everything. Photos, timestamps, location data." I moved to my office, closing the door even though I was alone in the house. I need to know what I'm dealing with, legally. "You need a lawyer." "I know, but first I need to understand the scope. If I confront her now, she could hide assets, delete evidence, establish a narrative." Daniel's voice sharpened. "You're thinking about divorce." The word hung between us. I hadn't said it out loud before, not even to myself, but hearing it crystallized something. "I don't see another option." Kids complicate things. Custody, support, the whole calculation changes. He paused. "How much evidence do you have?" 94 pages, 4 months of phone records, financial statements, location data. I can prove the affair, prove the deception, prove she's been using joint funds for... I stopped, took a breath. "It's airtight." "Good. That's good. But you need professional guidance. Someone who knows family law in your state." "Recommendations?" "I'll send you 3 names. People I've worked with on security cases. They're discreet, they're thorough, and they understand digital evidence." Keys clicked in the background. "But listen, before you talk to anyone, you need to secure your finances. Open a separate account. Start documenting household expenses, your involvement with Olivia, everything that establishes you as an active parent. She's going to notice. Not if you're careful. Small transfers, different bank. Use your work address for statements." More clicking. "And get copies of everything. Tax returns, mortgage documents, insurance policies, retirement accounts. She works in marketing. She's smart, strategic. She'll have her own plan." The thought hadn't occurred to me that Emily might be preparing too, that her late nights could involve more than just Trevor. "How soon?" I asked. "Yesterday. But realistically, this week, before she suspects anything." I thought about her kiss this morning, her casual mention of being late tonight, the ease with which she'd lied. "She already suspects I don't know," I said. "That's different from suspecting I do." "Exactly. Keep it that way." I picked up Olivia at 3:40, waiting in the carpool line with the other parents. She ran toward the car, backpack bouncing, her face flushed from recess. "Dad, guess what?" "What?" "Mrs. Patterson said my science project was the best in the class. She wants to submit it to the district competition." She buckled her seatbelt, still talking. "Can we work on it tonight? I need to add more data to the moon phase chart." "Absolutely, after dinner." "Is Mom going to be home?" The question landed like a punch. "She has to work late, but we'll save her a plate." Olivia's face fell, just for a second. Then she recovered, pulling out her tablet. "Okay, can we have tacos?" "Tacos it is." I watched her in the rearview mirror as we drove home. She had Emily's eyes, my dark hair. Her expression when she concentrated, tongue between her teeth, eyebrows drawn together, was pure Emily at 8 years old. I'd seen the photos. She deserved better than this. Better than parents who lied to each other. Better than whatever wreckage was coming. I'd make sure she got it. Daniel's email arrived at 4:30. 3 names, 3 phone numbers, brief descriptions of each attorney's specialty. I read through them twice, then saved the file to my encrypted cloud storage. The first name was Judith Pratt. 15 years of family law experience, reputation for aggressive representation, expertise in high-conflict custody cases. I dialed before I could second-guess myself. Pratt and Associates. The receptionist's voice was professional, warm. I'd like to schedule a consultation with Ms. Pratt regarding a divorce. Of course. Can I have your name and contact information? I gave her my cell number, my work email, not the home address. Ms. Pratt has an opening tomorrow at 11 or Monday at 2. Tomorrow. Friday. Emily would be at work, Olivia at school. I could slip away during lunch, be back before anyone noticed. Tomorrow works. Perfect. I'll send you the intake forms via email. Please complete them before your appointment. A pause. And sir, Ms. Pratt asks that you bring any relevant documentation, financial records, communication logs, anything that might be pertinent to your case. I have documentation. Excellent. We'll see you tomorrow at 11. I ended the call and sat staring at my phone. Tomorrow at 11, I'd walk into a lawyer's office and begin the process of dismantling my marriage. Tomorrow at 11, this would become real. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Meeting running long. Won't be home until 9. Sorry, love you. I checked her location. She was at the office exactly where she said she'd be. But I'd learned that her location and her truth weren't always the same thing. I typed back, no problem. Olivia and I are making tacos. Drive safe. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. You're the best. See you tonight. I set down the phone and went to help my daughter with her homework, the weight of tomorrow's appointment settling into my chest like a stone. The alarm went off at 6:30 a.m. I'd been awake for hours. Emily stirred beside me, reaching across to silence her phone. I kept my breathing steady, eyes closed, listening to her movements. The rustle of sheets, her feet touching the floor, the soft pad of footsteps toward the bathroom. I waited until I heard the shower running before I opened my eyes. My phone showed 3 new emails. The first was an automated confirmation from Judith Pratt's office, appointment confirmed for 11 a.m. The second was from my bank, acknowledging my request to add additional security protocols to our accounts. The third made my stomach drop. It was from Emily's iCloud account, forwarded automatically to the shared family email I'd set up years ago for bills and household management. A calendar invitation. Lunch with Trevor, 12:30 p.m. Friday, Marcello's. She'd created it last night, probably while I was pretending to sleep, while she lay there in the dark planning her next meeting with him. Tomorrow. She was seeing him tomorrow. I screenshot the invitation and added it to my evidence folder, now labeled Documentation, October 2024, and backed up in 3 separate locations. 96 pages and growing. The shower shut off. I closed my eyes again, slowed my breathing. Emily emerged 15 minutes later, already dressed. I felt her pause beside the bed, sensed her looking down at me. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept perfectly still. Coffee's on, she said softly. I waited 30 seconds before I woke up, stretching and checking my phone like I did every morning. Like nothing had changed. Like I hadn't spent the night cataloging her betrayal in forensic detail. When I came downstairs, Emily was packing Olivia's lunch. Our daughter sat at the kitchen table working through a math worksheet, her dark hair still tangled from sleep. Morning, Dad, Olivia said without looking up. What's 7 times 8? 56. That's what I put. She made a satisfied checkmark. Emily glanced at me over her shoulder. She'd chosen a navy dress today, professional but fitted. Her hair was pulled back. She looked tired. Shadows under her eyes that her makeup didn't quite hide. Good. You were restless last night, she said. Everything okay? The casual concern in her voice made my jaw tighten. I poured coffee, kept my tone neutral. Just work stress. Big presentation next week. Right. She sealed Olivia's lunch bag with practiced efficiency. I might be late tonight. We're finalizing the campaign rollout. Another lie. I watched her face for any tell, any crack in the performance. Nothing. How late? I asked. 7, maybe 8. I'll text you. She kissed Olivia's head. Finish that worksheet, sweetie. Bus comes in 20 minutes. Emily grabbed her bag and keys. She paused at the doorway, looking back at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. For a moment, I thought she was going to say something else. Instead, she just smiled. Have a good day. The door closed behind her. I waited until her car pulled out of the driveway before I opened my laptop. The tracking app showed her heading toward her office downtown, taking her usual route. I watched the blue dot move through familiar streets until Olivia's voice pulled me back. Dad? You're staring at your computer weird. I closed the laptop. Sorry, honey, just distracted. She studied me with those green eyes, Emily's eyes, and I wondered what she saw. If she could sense the fault lines spreading through our family's foundation. Is Mom okay? Olivia asked quietly. The question hit like a punch. What do you mean? She's been different lately. Happier, I guess. But also, she struggled for the word. Somewhere else, like she's thinking about other stuff all the time. 8 years old and already she'd noticed. Already she was trying to make sense of her mother's distraction, her divided attention. I moved to sit beside her, choosing my words carefully. Mom's just busy with work. You know how it gets sometimes. Olivia nodded, but she didn't look convinced. She returned to her worksheet, pencil moving across the page with fierce concentration. I wanted to tell her everything would be okay, that our family was solid, that the ground beneath her feet wasn't about to shift. But I'd made a promise to myself at 4 a.m. No more lies. So I said nothing. At 10:45 a.m., I pulled into the parking garage beneath the office building that housed Pratt & Associates. The law firm occupied the 7th floor, family law specialists, according to their website. Judith Pratt had 23 years of experience, a 94% success rate in custody cases, and a reputation for aggressive representation. Daniel had done his research. The elevator opened onto a reception area decorated in shades of gray and cream. Expensive, but impersonal. A young man at the desk looked up as I approached. Appointment with Judith Pratt, I said. 11 a.m. He checked his screen. I'll let her know you're here. Please have a seat. I chose a chair facing the windows. 7 floors up, the city spread out below. Office buildings and traffic, people moving through their lives unaware they were being watched. I thought about Emily at her desk downtown, maybe texting Trevor about tomorrow's lunch. Making plans. Mr. Brennan? The woman who'd appeared was in her 50s, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, wearing a charcoal suit. She extended her hand. Judith Pratt, come on back. Her office was corner-positioned with windows on 2 sides. She gestured to a leather chair across from her desk and settled into her own seat with the efficiency of someone who'd conducted this meeting hundreds of times. Daniel spoke highly of you, I said. Your brother's a good man. He mentioned you're dealing with a difficult situation. She pulled a legal pad toward her, pen ready. Why don't you tell me what's going on? I'd rehearsed this, kept it factual, clinical. I discovered my wife is having an affair. 4 months, possibly longer. I have extensive documentation, phone records, credit card statements, location data, calendar entries. I need to understand my options regarding divorce and custody of our daughter. Judith's expression didn't change. How old is your daughter? 8. And you're certain about the affair? Yes. I pulled out my phone, opened the evidence folder. I have 96 pages of documentation, time-stamped, cross-referenced, backed up. She held up a hand. Before you show me anything, I need to ask, how did you obtain this information? Phone records from our shared account, credit card statements from our joint cards, location data from a security app we both use, calendar from our shared family email, all legally accessible. And your wife doesn't know you've gathered this? No. Judith leaned back in her chair, studying me. What's your goal here? What outcome are you looking for? The question caught me off guard. I'd been so focused on documentation, on building the case, that I hadn't articulated the endgame. I want primary custody of Olivia, I said finally. I want a fair division of assets, and I want this handled before Emily has time to prepare her own strategy. Does she have access to your finances? We have joint accounts. I've added security protocols as of yesterday, but she could still move money if she wanted to. Then that's priority 1. Judith pulled her keyboard forward, began typing. We need to protect your assets immediately. I'll have my paralegal draft a motion for temporary financial orders. In the meantime, you need to document every penny, where it is, where it came from, what it's designated for. She looked up at me. This is going to move fast once we file. Your wife will be served with papers, probably at work or at home. She'll know immediately that you know. Are you prepared for that confrontation? I thought about Emily's face this morning, her casual lies, the lunch with Trevor tomorrow that she thought I didn't know about. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. The house was too quiet when I returned from Judith Pratt's office. I stood in the kitchen, keys still in my hand, listening to the silence. Emily wouldn't be home for another hour. Her calendar showed a department meeting until 2:30, then the drive back. Olivia was at school until 3:15. I had time. The documentation sat in my car, locked in the trunk inside a fireproof document case I'd bought that morning. 96 pages of phone records, financial statements, the timeline. Everything organized, indexed, cross-referenced. Judith had spent 45 minutes reviewing it, making notes, asking questions about specific transactions and dates. She hadn't praised it. She'd simply said, "This gives us what we need," and started outlining next steps. I pulled up the banking app on my phone. Our joint checking account showed the usual balance: Emily's paycheck from 2 weeks ago, my direct deposit, the automatic payments for mortgage and utilities. $34,000. Our savings account held another $41,000. Olivia's college fund was separate, untouchable, already in her name. Judith's words echoed in my head. Protect the assets. Today. Before she knows you know. I transferred half of the checking account to a new individual account I'd opened that morning. $17,000. Exactly half. Then half of the savings. $20,000. $500. The transactions took less than 3 minutes. My phone felt heavy in my hand. The joint credit cards were next. I called the company, navigated the automated system, finally reached a human being. I need to reduce the credit limit on account ending in 4782, I said, down to $5,000. May I ask the reason for the reduction, sir? Debt management. We're trying to limit our spending. A pause. Keyboard clicks. I can process that request. The change will take effect within 24 hours. We had 3 joint cards. I called each company, reduced each limit to the minimum they'd allow. Emily could still use them. That was important. Nothing that would alert her. But she couldn't drain them, couldn't run up 50,000 in charges before I could react. The whole process took 40 minutes. I sat at the kitchen table staring at my phone, thinking about the woman I'd married 9 years ago. The woman who'd stood beside me in a garden ceremony, who'd promised to be faithful, who'd cried when Olivia was born. The woman who'd kissed me goodbye this morning, who'd asked if I wanted her to pick up anything from the store on her way home. The woman who'd spent 4 months lying to my face. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. How did it go? Good. Attorney's solid. Moving forward. You doing okay? I looked around the kitchen. The coffee maker Emily had bought last Christmas. The calendar on the wall with Olivia's soccer schedule in Emily's handwriting. The photo stuck to the refrigerator, the 3 of us at the beach last summer, all smiling. I'm fine. I wasn't fine, but I would be. Another text from Daniel. You need anything, call, anytime. Thanks. I put the phone down and pulled up the security app. Emily's location showed her still at the office. The little blue dot pulsed on the map, steady and predictable. She'd be there until 2:30, then straight home. No detours today, no unexplained stops. Trevor Blackwood's number was in my phone now. I'd added it from the phone records, labeled it TB. I stared at it, imagining calling him, imagining what I'd say. But that wasn't the plan. Judith had been clear. No contact with him, no confrontation, nothing that could be used against me later. Document everything. Protect the assets. File the papers. Let the process work. I deleted the number. The house settled around me, the familiar creaks and sighs of a place I'd lived in for 7 years. I'd painted these walls, fixed the leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom, built the deck out back. I'd had a life here, a family, past tense. I walked upstairs to our bedroom. The bed was made, Emily always made it, hospital corners, pillows arranged just so. I stood in the doorway looking at it. She'd been in that bed with me last night, her back to me, breathing steady. She'd come home at 3:17 in the morning and climbed back into bed like nothing had happened. How many times had she done that? How many nights had I slept beside her while she planned her next meeting with him? The closet door was half open. I could see her clothes hanging in neat rows, organized by color. The black dress she'd worn Wednesday night was there, already back from the dry cleaner. She'd charged it to our joint credit card. $38. I'd paid for her to clean the dress she'd worn to meet him. My hands clenched into fists. The rage came in waves now, cold and controlled. Not the hot, explosive anger of Thursday night. This was different. This was the kind of anger that made plans. That took action. That didn't make mistakes. I pulled out my phone and opened the calendar app. Emily's schedule was still synced to mine. She'd never removed my access. I scrolled through the next 2 weeks. Department meeting today until 2:30. Lunch with Trevor tomorrow at 12:30. Monday, October 23rd. Conference call at 9 a.m. Wednesday, October 25th. Client presentation at 2 p.m. Thursday, October 26th. Another late meeting ending at 7 p.m. Or was it? I cross-referenced with the phone records. The last 3 times she'd had a late meeting on her calendar, she'd called Trevor within 15 minutes of when it supposedly ended. I took screenshots of everything. The doorbell rang. I froze, phone in my hand, standing in the bedroom. The doorbell rang again, followed by a knock. I went downstairs, checked the security camera feed on my phone. A woman stood on the porch, mid-50s, holding a clipboard. She wore a polo shirt with a logo I didn't recognize. I opened the door, but kept the security chain engaged. "Can I help you?" "Hi there. I'm with Community Health Services. We're doing a bone marrow registry drive in the neighborhood this week. Just wondering if you'd be interested in signing up? It only takes a minute, and you could save someone's life." She smiled, bright and practiced. "No, thank you." "Are you sure? It's really simple. Just a cheek swab, and then you're in the registry. If you're ever a match for someone who needs a transplant." I said no, thank you. I closed the door, heard her footsteps retreating down the porch steps. I checked the security app again. Emily's dot was moving now, leaving the office. 2:33 p.m., right on schedule. I had maybe 25 minutes before she got home. I went back to the kitchen, opened my laptop, and pulled up the document I'd started Thursday night. The timeline. I added today's entries. Friday, October 20th, 11 a.m. Meeting with attorney Judith Pratt. Reviewed documentation, discussed strategy. Friday, October 20th, 1:15 p.m. Protected joint assets. Transferred 50% of checking and savings to individual accounts. Reduced credit limits on joint cards. Friday, October 20th, 2:35 p.m. Confirmed Emily's schedule for next 2 weeks. Cross-referenced with phone records. Pattern of deception continues. I saved the file, backed it up to the cloud, then to an external drive I kept in my desk. Emily's car pulled into the driveway at 2:58. I closed the laptop, slid it back into my bag, and started making coffee. By the time she walked through the door, I was standing at the counter, scrolling through news on my phone, the picture of a man with nothing on his mind but the weekend ahead. "Hey," she said, setting her purse on the counter. "How was your day?" I looked up at her. Green eyes. The same eyes I'd looked into 9 years ago when I'd promised to love her forever. "Fine," I said. "Quiet. How was the meeting?" "Long. Tedious." She kicked off her heels, rolled her shoulders. "I'm exhausted. You want coffee?" "Please." I poured her a cup, added cream the way she liked it, handed it to her. Our fingers touched briefly. She smiled at me. I smiled back. And I thought about tomorrow. About her lunch with Trevor at 12:30. About the papers Judith would be preparing next week. About the moment when Emily would finally understand that I knew everything. "What do you want to do for dinner?" she asked. "Whatever you want," I said. I watched her drive away Friday morning, her taillights disappearing around the corner at exactly 8:47 a.m. Olivia sat beside me at the breakfast table, pushing cereal around her bowl. "Mom forgot to say goodbye," she said quietly. Emily had been on her phone the entire morning, typing furiously, smiling at the screen. She'd kissed Olivia's forehead without looking at her, grabbed her bag and left. "She's busy with work stuff, sweetheart." Olivia's green eyes met mine. "She's always busy now." I drove her to school, watched her walk through the front doors with her astronomy textbook clutched against her chest. She turned and waved. I waved back, maintaining the smile until she disappeared inside. Then I drove home and waited. The lunch reservation was at 12:30. Marcello's was 23 minutes from Emily's office in normal traffic. She'd leave around noon, maybe a few minutes earlier to touch up her makeup, to check her reflection one more time. I had work to do before then. The home office had been mine for 7 years. Built-in shelves lined with technical manuals, 2 monitors on the desk, a leather chair Emily had given me for our 5th anniversary. The card was still in my desk drawer. For all the late nights and early mornings. Love always, E. I pulled up the cellular records again. Not to review them, I had every call memorized, but to print a second set. One for Judith, one for myself. The printer hummed, spitting out page after page. 473 calls. I'd counted them 6 times. My phone buzzed at 11:47 a.m. Daniel. How you holding up? Me. Fine, she's meeting him for lunch today. Daniel. You going to follow her? I stared at the question. The thought had occurred to me. I could drive to Marcello's, park across the street, watch them through the window, see how she looked at him, see if she touched his hand across the table. Me. No, I have everything I need. Daniel. Good. Don't give her ammunition. Stay clean. I set the phone down and continued printing. Bank statements next. The Chase account showed the hotel charges in stark black and white. The Riverside Inn, August 14th. The Grandview Hotel, September 3rd. The Metropolitan, September 28th. 3 hotels. Each charged for 1 night. Each on a Thursday when she'd told me she had evening client presentations. I'd believed every word. The front door opened at 4:32 p.m. Emily's heels clicked across the hardwood, sharp and precise. I'm home, she called. I was in the kitchen, starting dinner. Chicken breasts defrosting in the sink, vegetables on the cutting board. Normal. Everything normal. She appeared in the doorway, still in her work clothes. Navy dress, pearl earrings. Her makeup was fresh. She'd reapplied it after lunch. How was your day? I asked, not looking up from the cutting board. Exhausting, back-to-back meetings all afternoon. The lie came so easily, no hesitation, no tell. She'd had 4 hours since lunch with Trevor. 4 hours to construct whatever story she needed. I picked up Olivia from school. She's upstairs doing homework. I'll go check on her. Emily started to turn, then paused. Oh, I have to go to a conference next weekend, Friday through Sunday. Chicago, the Regional Marketing Summit. I set down the knife very carefully. Next weekend? I know, terrible timing, but it's mandatory for senior directors. She pulled out her phone, showed me a calendar invite. Professional, official, the Chicago Hilton. October 20th to 22. That's Olivia's science fair, I said. Emily's expression flickered. Just for a second. The science fair is Saturday afternoon, right? I'll try to get an earlier flight back. Maybe I can make it. She's been working on her solar system model for 6 weeks. I know, and it's amazing. But this is work, honey. I don't have a choice. The endearment landed like a slap. Honey. She called me honey while planning a weekend with Trevor. Sure, I said. I understand. She smiled, relieved. You're the best. I'll make it up to her. Maybe we can take her to that planetarium she's been wanting to visit. We. As if we were still a team. As if she wasn't dismantling everything we'd built. Emily went upstairs. I heard her voice drift down, talking to Olivia about school, about the science project. Warm, engaged, present, the mother Olivia deserved. I pulled out my phone and texted Judith. She just told me about a conference next weekend, Chicago, Oak 2022, but I need to verify it's real. The response came within minutes. Forward me the calendar invite. I'll have my investigator check. If it's fabricated, that's more evidence of deception. I forwarded the email, then opened a new browser window. The Chicago Hilton website loaded. I navigated to events, Searched for marketing conferences? Nothing. I tried variations. Regional Marketing Summit. Midwest Marketing Conference. Nothing matched the dates. My phone buzzed. Judith. Investigator confirms no marketing summit at that hotel those dates. The calendar invite is fake. She created it herself. The room tilted slightly. Creating fake calendar invites required premeditation, planning. She'd probably made it days ago, maybe weeks. Had it ready to deploy. Me. What does this mean for the case? Judith. It demonstrates pattern of deception, premeditated lying. Judges don't like parents who lie, especially regarding time away from children. Document everything she says about this trip. I set the phone down and gripped the counter. The chicken sat in the sink, pale and cold. The vegetables waited on the cutting board. Everything in its place, ready to be transformed into dinner. Upstairs, Emily laughed at something Olivia said. I picked up the knife and started chopping. Dinner was quiet. Olivia talked about her science project, explaining the orbital patterns of Jupiter's moons. Emily listened, asked questions, seemed genuinely interested. She helped Olivia with the calculations, showed her how to scale the distances properly. This was the Emily I'd married. Brilliant, engaged, patient. The woman who'd stayed up all night with me when Olivia had croup at 2 years old. Who'd held my hand at my father's funeral. Who'd built this life with me, piece by piece. That woman was still here, sitting across the table helping our daughter with homework. And she was planning to spend next weekend in a hotel with Trevor Blackwood. Dad, you okay? Olivia was looking at me, concerned. I realized I'd been staring at my plate, fork frozen halfway to my mouth. Just tired, sweetheart? Long day? Emily glanced at me, a small line appearing between her eyebrows. You do look exhausted. Why don't you go relax? I'll clean up. I'm fine. No, really. Go watch something, decompress. I've got this. She was being kind, thoughtful, taking care of me while planning her escape. I stood, carried my plate to the sink. Thanks. In the living room, I pulled out my laptop instead of turning on the TV. Opened a private browser window and searched for Trevor Blackwood's social media. His Instagram was public. 2,000 followers, mostly professional contacts. Photos of advertising campaigns, creative team celebrations, industry events. He was 32, according to his LinkedIn. Stanford MBA. Previously worked at 3 major agencies in New York. I scrolled back through his posts. June 17th. A photo of an airplane wing, caption reading, New City, New Chapter. June 18th. A group photo at what looked like a restaurant. The caption, First day at the new gig. Already love this team. Emily was in the photo. Back row, slightly to the left. Professional smile, arms crossed. Standing next to a tall blonde woman I didn't recognize. June 18th. The day it started. 4 months and 9 days ago. I kept scrolling. July showed more office photos, a few weekend hiking shots. August had a sunset photo with the caption Best View in the City and a location tag, Riverside Overlook. I clicked the location. It was a park near the Riverside district, near the address where Emily had gone Thursday night. The photos from that location showed a hiking trail, a scenic viewpoint. Trevor had posted 3 photos from there. August 12th, September 1st, September 26th. I pulled up Emily's location history on my phone. The shared family tracking app showed her historical data. August the 12th, 7 p.m., Riverside Overlook. Duration, 2 hours. September 1st, 6:30 p.m., Riverside Overlook. Duration, 2.5 hours. September 26th, 7:15 p.m., Riverside Overlook. Duration, 2 hours. She'd told me she was at the gym. All 3 nights, she'd said she was trying a new workout class. I'd packed her gym bag myself one of those nights. She'd kissed me goodbye, thanked me for being supportive of her fitness goals. The living room felt too small suddenly, the walls pressing in. I closed the laptop and sat in the darkness, listening to Emily and Olivia laugh in the kitchen. My phone buzzed. Daniel, you still doing okay? Me. She's planning a fake conference next weekend. Created a fraudulent calendar invite. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Daniel. Jesus, she's really committed to this. Me. She helped Olivia with homework tonight, made her laugh, acted like everything was normal. Daniel. That's the hardest part. The compartmentalization. She can be both people at once. I stared at the dark screen of the TV, seeing my reflection in the black glass. Me. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Daniel. You're almost there. Judith has everything she needs. You just have to hold on a little longer. But how much longer? Days? Weeks? How many more dinners? How many more normal mornings? How many more lies could I absorb before something broke? Emily appeared in the doorway. Olivia's in bed. I'm heading up too. You coming? In a bit. She hesitated, then crossed the room and kissed the top of my head. Don't stay up too late. Her perfume lingered after she left, the same scent she'd worn on our wedding day. I sat in the darkness and waited for the sound of her footsteps to fade. Then I opened the laptop again and started documenting everything. The science fair was in 3 days. I sat in my car outside Olivia's school, watching parents stream through the front entrance for the Friday afternoon parent-teacher conferences. Emily had volunteered to take this one. She'd sent me a text at 2:15 p.m. Heading to Olivia's conference. Should be done by 4. Her location showed her at the Riverside district, 12 miles in the opposite direction. I'd known she would lie. I'd even prepared for it. Told her yesterday I had a client meeting that would run late. Couldn't make the conference this year. She'd smiled, kissed my cheek, said it was fine. She'd handle it. The phone records I'd pulled this morning showed 3 calls to Trevor Blackwood between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. The last one lasted 14 minutes. I started the engine and drove to the school. Mrs. Patterson, Olivia's teacher, looked surprised when I walked into her classroom at 3:47 p.m. Oh, Mr. Whitman, hello. I wasn't expecting you. Emily said you couldn't make it this year. Schedule cleared up, I said, shaking her hand. Hope I'm not too late. Not at all. Perfect timing, actually. I have one more conference after yours, then I'm done for the day. She gestured to the small chair across from her desk, the kind designed for 8-year-olds, comically small for adults. I sat. Mrs. Patterson pulled out a folder with Olivia's name on it. She's doing wonderfully, as I'm sure you know. Straight A's across the board. Her reading comprehension is testing at a 7th grade level. That's great to hear. She's also been selected to represent her grade in the regional spelling bee next month. I sent the permission slip home last week. Did Emily mention it? She did, I lied. I made a mental note to check Olivia's backpack. Mrs. Patterson smiled, then her expression shifted slightly. More careful. I did want to mention, Olivia's been a bit quieter than usual these past few weeks. Nothing alarming, but she's always been one of our more talkative students, and lately, she's been keeping to herself more during free time. Something cold settled in my chest. Has she said anything? Is someone bothering her? No, nothing like that. She still participates in class, still plays with her friends. It's subtle. I probably wouldn't have noticed with another student, but Olivia's usually so present. Mrs. Patterson chose her words carefully. I just wanted to make you aware. Sometimes kids pick up on stress at home, even when parents think they're hiding it well. I kept my face neutral. Things have been busy with work, both of us. Maybe she's picking up on that. Could be. Mrs. Patterson closed the folder. Kids are perceptive, more than we give them credit for. I thanked her and left at 4:03 p.m. Emily's location still showed Riverside District. I picked Olivia up from her after-school astronomy club at 4:30 p.m. She climbed into the back seat, backpack covered in star-shaped pins, and immediately started telling me about the telescope they'd used to look at sunspots. Mr. Reeves says if the weather's clear next week, we can stay late and look at Jupiter. You can see the moons, Dad. The actual moons. That's incredible, sweetheart. Can I? Stay late? Of course. She was quiet for a moment as I pulled out of the parking lot. Then, Mom said she couldn't come to the science fair. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. What? She told me this morning. She has to go to Chicago for work. Olivia's voice was small. She said it's important. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Olivia was staring out the window, her reflection showing the same expression I'd seen on Emily's face lately. Somewhere else. When did she tell you this? At breakfast. You were in the shower. 3 days before the science fair. Emily had told our 8-year-old daughter 3 days before her school event that she wouldn't be there. For a conference that didn't exist. For a weekend with Trevor Blackwood. Hey, I said, keeping my voice steady. You know what? I'll be there, front row, and we'll take so many pictures that Mom will feel like she was there too. Olivia nodded, but she didn't smile. Emily got home at 6:47 p.m. I was in the kitchen with Olivia, helping her practice her presentation about the water cycle. The garage door opened, closed. Footsteps. Sorry, I'm late, Emily called out, dropping her bag on the counter. The conference ran long, then I had to stop by the office to grab some files for Chicago. She'd had 3 hours to construct her alibi, 3 hours to decide which lie would hold. How was Mrs. Patterson? I asked. Great. She loves Olivia, obviously. Lots of praise. Emily opened the refrigerator, pulled out a bottle of wine. She mentioned the regional spelling bee. I said we'd definitely let her participate. That's good. Emily poured herself a glass, took a long drink. I watched her throat work as she swallowed. She was wearing the navy blouse I'd seen charged to our credit card on September 3rd. $240. She'd worn it to dinner at Marcello's with Trevor on September 8th. I'd cross-referenced the location data. Olivia told me about Chicago, I said. Emily's hand paused halfway to her mouth. Just for a second. Oh, yeah, I told her this morning. I felt terrible about the timing, but this conference is mandatory. All the senior directors have to attend. That's tough. She's pretty disappointed. I know. Emily set down her glass, moved to the table where Olivia was drawing water droplets on her poster board. She kissed the top of our daughter's head. I'm sorry, baby. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Olivia didn't look up from her drawing. Emily straightened, met my eyes over Olivia's head. You'll take pictures though, right? And video? Already planned on it. Good. She picked up her wine again, took another drink. I should pack tonight. The flight's early tomorrow morning. What time? 6:15. I'll need to leave here by 4:30. I nodded slowly. The level of detail, the specificity. She'd thought this through. I'll try not to wake you, she added. Don't worry about it. I'm a light sleeper anyway. Something flickered across her face, too quick to identify. At 11:23 p.m., I sat in my office with the door closed, phone in hand. Daniel answered on the second ring. "Please tell me you're not still awake tracking her location," he said. "She told Olivia she's not coming to the science fair. Told her this morning." Silence on the other end. Then, "Jesus. She's leaving tomorrow morning, 4:30 a.m., says she has a 6:15 flight to Chicago." But there's no conference. No conference, no flight. I checked every airline. There's no reservation under her name. So where's she actually going? I pulled up the browser window I'd had open for the past hour. Trevor Blackwood posted on social media 6 hours ago a picture of a lake. Caption says, "Much needed weekend getaway." No location tag, but I reverse searched the image. It's Lake Harmony, 2.5 hours north of here. She's meeting him there. Has to be. The timing matches. She leaves early tomorrow, supposedly for Chicago. He's already there or heading there. They have the whole weekend. Daniel was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do?" I stared at the screen. Trevor Blackwood's profile showed a man in his mid-30s, dark hair, expensive sunglasses. His smile was easy, confident. The kind of smile that belonged to someone who'd never had to document evidence of his wife's betrayal at 3 in the morning. "I don't know yet." "You could confront her before she leaves." "And say what?" "I know you're not going to Chicago. You're meeting Trevor at Lake Harmony." "She'll deny it. Or she'll—" I stopped. "She'll what?" "She'll leave anyway. She's already chosen." The words came out flat. Matter of fact. She's chosen to miss Olivia's science fair. She's chosen to lie to both of us. She's chosen Trevor Blackwood over her daughter's school event. "Listen to me," Daniel said, his voice sharp. "You need to think about what happens next. Really think about it. Once you confront her, once this is out in the open, there's no going back." "I know. Do you? Because right now you still have control. You have all the evidence, all the documentation. She doesn't know you know. That's leverage." I closed my eyes. Leverage. Documentation. Evidence. My life had become a legal proceeding, and I was building my case one timestamp at a time. "Judith said the papers would be ready next week," I said. "Then wait. Let her go to Lake Harmony. Let her think she's gotten away with it. You go to Olivia's science fair, you be the parent who shows up, and you keep documenting everything. And when she comes back, then you decide. But you decide from a position of strength, not in the middle of the night before she leaves." I opened my eyes, looked at Trevor Blackwood's smiling face on my screen. "Okay," I said. After I hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. Downstairs, I could hear Emily moving around the bedroom, the sound of drawers opening and closing. Packing for a conference that didn't exist. At 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a calendar notification. Emily had updated the Chicago conference event. Added a note. "Staying at the Palmer House. Will call when I land." She was still building her alibi, still adding details to make it believable. I screenshot the notification and added it to the folder. 98 pages of evidence and counting. The suitcase sat on our bed like an accusation. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching Emily fold a black cocktail dress, the one she'd worn to her company's holiday party last year. She placed it carefully into the luggage, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles with the same attention she gave everything lately. Everything except our daughter's feelings. "You sure you packed enough?" I asked. She glanced up, startled. "Jesus, you scared me." "Sorry." I leaned against the doorframe, hands in my pockets. Casual. Concerned husband seeing his wife off on a business trip. Just wanted to make sure you have everything you need. Emily's smile didn't reach her eyes. I think I'm good. It's only 3 days. 3 days at Lake Harmony. 3 days in a cabin that cost $840 on our joint credit card, listed under Trevor Blackwood's rewards account. I'd found the confirmation email in her trash folder. She'd been sloppy, or maybe she thought I'd never look. Right, the conference. I watched her face carefully. Remind me what the focus is again? Integrated marketing strategies for Q1. The lie came smoothly, rehearsed. Boring stuff, really. Lots of PowerPoint presentations. Sounds riveting. She folded a silk nightgown, cream-colored, expensive, one I'd never seen her wear. I'd rather be at Olivia's science fair, obviously, but Mitchell specifically requested I attend. You know how he is about FaceTime with the executive team. Mitchell Yang, her boss. I'd called his office yesterday, pretending to be a vendor confirming details for the Chicago conference. His assistant had been confused. There was no conference scheduled. No company event at all that weekend. Of course, I said. Career comes first. Something flickered across Emily's face. Guilt, maybe? Or irritation that I wasn't putting up more of a fight. That's not fair, she said quietly. You know I've been killing myself at work. This promotion doesn't just happen because I want it. The promotion. Another lie, probably. Or maybe not. Maybe she really was up for senior VP, and Trevor was just a bonus. A reward she'd given herself for all those late nights and weekend strategy sessions. I wondered if she'd told him about Olivia's science fair. If he knew he was the reason an 8-year-old girl had cried herself to sleep last night. You're right, I said. I'm sorry. I know how important this is. Emily's shoulders relaxed. She zipped the suitcase closed, testing the weight. Thank you. I promise I'll make it up to Olivia when I get back. Maybe we can take her to that planetarium she's been asking about. She'd love that. The lies were getting easier. We were both fluent now, speaking a language of careful omissions and strategic truths. Marriage as performance art. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Papers ready. Attorney says Monday earliest for service. You holding up? I silenced it without responding. Who was that? Emily asked. Work thing. Nothing urgent. She nodded, already distracted. Her own phone sat on the nightstand, face down. Always face down now. I'd noticed that about 3 weeks ago. The way she'd started positioning it so the screen wasn't visible, even when she was just checking the weather or scrolling through news. What time's your flight? I asked. 7:40. I should leave for the airport by 5:30, just to be safe. No flight. I'd checked every airline. She was driving to Lake Harmony, meeting Trevor there. Probably had some cover story ready in case I offered to drop her off at the terminal. Want me to drive you? No, it's fine. I'll just park at the airport. Easier than coordinating pickup times. There it was, smooth as glass. Okay, I pushed off from the doorframe. I'm going to check on Olivia. Make sure she's not staying up too late working on her presentation. Tell her I love her, Emily said. I paused at the threshold. You could tell her yourself. I will. I just need to finish packing. I found Olivia in her room, surrounded by poster board and markers. Her solar system model sat on her desk. 9 planets made from painted styrofoam balls, suspended on fishing line. She'd spent 2 weeks on it, getting the orbital distances exactly right, painting Jupiter's great red spot with painstaking detail. How's it coming? I asked. She looked up, green eyes serious behind her glasses. I'm working on my note cards. Mrs. Patterson says we need to be ready to answer questions from the judges. I sat on the edge of her bed. You're going to blow them away, kiddo. Will Mom really not be there? The question landed like a punch. Direct, devastating in its simplicity. She has to work, I said carefully. But I'll be there, and I'll take so many pictures that she'll feel like she didn't miss a thing. Olivia bent back over her note cards, but not before I saw her eyes glisten. It's okay. I know her job is important. 8 years old, already learning to minimize her needs. Already understanding that she came second. The rage that lived in my chest flared hot and immediate. I swallowed it down, forced my voice to stay level. Her job is important, I said. But you're more important. Don't ever forget that. She nodded, not looking up. I wanted to tell her everything. Wanted to explain that her mother's absence had nothing to do with work. That this weekend trip was a choice Emily was making, consciously and deliberately. That she was picking Trevor Blackwood over spelling bee ribbons and astronomy posters, and a little girl who just wanted her mom to watch her explain planetary rotation to a gymnasium full of strangers. But I couldn't. Not yet. I'm proud of you, I said instead. Your project is incredible. That earned me a small smile. Thanks, Dad. I left her to her note cards and went downstairs. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of Emily's footsteps overhead. Normal domestic sounds. The architecture of a life that was already over, we just hadn't demolished it yet. My laptop sat on the kitchen table where I'd left it. I opened it, pulled up the folder I'd labeled Household Expenses 2024. Inside were 98 pages of documentation. Phone records, credit card statements, screenshots of location data. A complete map of Emily's double life. Monday, Judith Pratt would file the divorce petition. Tuesday, a process server would hand Emily the papers, probably at her office. Wednesday, I'd file for emergency custody, citing abandonment and emotional neglect. I'd already lined up witnesses. Olivia's teacher who documented Emily's absence from parent-teacher conferences. Our neighbor Beth, who'd noticed Emily leaving at odd hours. Daniel, who'd testify about the phone call where Emily had lied about her whereabouts. It was airtight, methodical. The same attention to detail I'd brought to every project in my career, now applied to the dissolution of my marriage. I heard Emily coming down the stairs, her suitcase thumping against each step. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, car keys in hand. I'm heading out early. Want to miss the traffic? 5:30 was 90 minutes away. She was eager. I closed my laptop. Drive safe. She crossed to where I sat, leaned down to kiss my cheek. I smelled her perfume. Something new, something I didn't recognize. Probably bought for him. I'll call when I land, she said. Okay. She hesitated, hand on my shoulder. For a moment I thought she might confess. Might tell me the truth, apologize, beg for forgiveness. Give me a reason to stop what was already in motion. I love you, she said instead. The words hung between us, hollow and weightless. Love you too, I replied. She left. I heard the garage door open, her car start, the sound of tires on asphalt fading into the distance. I sat in the kitchen for a long time, listening to the silence. Then I opened my laptop and added a new entry to my documentation. October 17th, 4:03 p.m. Emily departed for Lake Harmony. Told Olivia she loved her via proxy. Did not say goodbye in person. My phone buzzed. A text from the Find My app. Emily's location had updated. She was heading north on Route 476 toward the Poconos, toward Trevor. I took a screenshot, saved it to the folder, and closed my laptop. Upstairs, Olivia was practicing her presentation. I could hear her voice, clear and confident, explaining the difference between terrestrial and gas giant planets. Monday couldn't come fast enough. The science fair was held in the gymnasium on Saturday afternoon. I sat in the front row of folding chairs, phone ready to capture every moment. Olivia stood beside her solar system display, wearing the blue dress we'd picked out together that morning. She'd wanted to wear the yellow one, her favorite, but Emily had borrowed it 3 weeks ago and never returned it. I'd found it in the dry cleaning bag in Emily's closet, still tagged with the receipt. $62 to clean a child's dress she'd never worn. Olivia's presentation was flawless. She explained orbital mechanics, the formation of the asteroid belt, why Pluto's reclassification made scientific sense. The judges nodded, impressed. Other parents filmed their own children, proud and present. Emily's chair beside me stayed empty. At 3:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "How's it going? Tell Olivia I'm thinking about her." I looked at the location data. She was still at Lake Harmony. Had been there since yesterday afternoon, her blue dot stationary at the cabin coordinates. I didn't respond. Olivia won second place. When they called her name, she searched the crowd instinctively, looking for her mother. Found me instead. I stood and applauded, watching pride and disappointment war across her 8-year-old face. "Mom would have been proud," she said quietly when I hugged her afterward, the ribbon clutched in her small hand. "She would have," I agreed. "I'm proud enough for both of us." We went for ice cream, then to the bookstore, where Olivia picked out 3 astronomy guides. We stayed out until dinner, stretching the day as long as possible, postponing the return to our too-quiet house. That night, after Olivia went to bed, I sat in the kitchen with the folder of evidence spread across the table. 98 pages had become 114. The additions from this weekend, screenshots of Emily's location at Lake Harmony, her text messages claiming to be at conference sessions that didn't exist, the credit card charge from yesterday, $247 at a restaurant called the Lakeside Inn, 30 miles from any business conference. My phone rang. "Daniel." "How'd the science fair go?" he asked. "She got second place." "That's great. Emily make it back?" "She's still at the lake. Sent a text asking how it went." Silence on the other end. Then, "You know what you have to do." "Yeah." "Monday morning, Judith's got everything ready." I looked at the evidence, the careful documentation of 4 months of lies. Every call, every hotel charge, every moment Emily had chosen Trevor over her family. "I keep thinking," I said slowly, "about what I'm going to tell Olivia. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that her mother chose this?" "You don't," Daniel said. "You just show up, every day. You be the parent who's there. Eventually, she'll understand the rest." After we hung up, I gathered the papers and locked them in the fireproof safe I'd bought 2 weeks ago. Everything organized, indexed, ready for Judith to file Monday morning. I walked upstairs and checked on Olivia. She was asleep, her second-place ribbon pinned to the bulletin board above her desk, next to her spelling bee certificates and perfect attendance awards, evidence of a childhood built on showing up, on doing the work, on being present. Everything Emily wasn't. Emily came home Sunday evening at 6:23 p.m. I heard the garage door, the familiar sound of her footsteps. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, suitcase in hand, looking tired but glowing in that particular way people do after a weekend away from responsibility. "I'm home," she announced, setting down her bag. Olivia looked up from her homework but didn't move from the table. "How was Chicago?" I asked. "Exhausting. So many presentations." Emily crossed to Olivia, kissed the top of her head. "I'm so sorry I missed your science fair, baby. Tell me everything." "I got second place," Olivia said quietly. "Second place? That's amazing." Emily's enthusiasm felt performative, too bright. "I knew you would do great. Did Dad take pictures?" "Lots of pictures," I confirmed. Emily pulled out her phone. "I want to see all of them. But first, let me show you what I brought you from Chicago." She dug through her suitcase and produced a snow globe, the Chicago skyline encased in glass and glitter. Olivia took it, turned it over in her hands. "Thanks, Mom. There's a great science museum there. Maybe we can all go sometime, make a family trip out of it." The casual way she lied, even now, even about something so easily disproven. I wondered if she'd bought the snow globe at a gas station on the drive home, creating evidence of a trip that never happened. "That would be nice," I said. Emily smiled at me, relieved. She thought she'd gotten away with it. Thought the performance had held, that her carefully constructed alibi had worked. She had no idea what Monday morning would bring. I didn't sleep Sunday night. Lay beside Emily in the darkness, listening to her breathe, thinking about the papers Judith had prepared. Petition for divorce, emergency custody motion, restraining order on joint assets, a complete legal dismantling of everything we'd built. At 2:47 a.m., I got up and went downstairs. Made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. One last time, I reviewed everything. The timeline, the evidence, the documentation. 4 months of phone records showing 473 calls to Trevor Blackwood. Hotel charges totaling $3,847. Restaurant bills, gifts, the cabin rental at Lake Harmony. All paid for with our joint accounts, our shared money, the finances of a marriage Emily was systematically destroying. The location data showed the pattern clearly. Every late night at work corresponded with time spent at Trevor's apartment or various hotels. The fake Chicago conference matched perfectly with her weekend at Lake Harmony. It was comprehensive, undeniable. The kind of evidence that would make a judge's decision easy. I thought about Olivia upstairs, asleep with her second-place ribbon and her snow globe from a city her mother had never visited. About the lie she'd been told, the performance she'd been asked to believe in. No more lies? I closed the laptop and waited for dawn. Monday morning arrived with gray skies and the promise of rain. Emily left for work at 8:15 a.m., kissing Olivia goodbye, squeezing my hand. "Love you," she said, same as every morning. I didn't respond. At 9:30 a.m., I received a text from Judith. Process server, en route to her office. Should be served by 10:15. I was in a meeting when my phone started buzzing. Emily's name flashed across the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Again. 4 times in 6 minutes. Then a text. "We need to talk. Now." Another. "Please call me." Another. "I can explain everything." I turned off my phone. At 11 a.m., I sat across from Judith in her office while she walked me through what would happen next. "She'll have 20 days to respond to the petition," Judith explained. "But given the evidence, I expect her attorney will advise settlement. The custody situation is particularly strong in your favor. Documented abandonment, pattern of deception, prioritizing an affair over parental responsibilities." "What about Olivia?" I asked. "What happens to her during this?" Temporary custody order gives you primary physical custody effective immediately. Emily gets supervised visitation pending the final hearing. The court takes parental abandonment seriously, especially when it involves choosing an extramarital affair over a child's school event. I thought about Olivia's face at the science fair, searching the crowd for her mother. Good, I said. I picked Olivia up from school at 3:15 p.m. She climbed into the car, backpack trailing. Is Mom okay? She asked immediately. She sent me like 10 texts saying she loves me. So Emily knew that I knew what was coming, knew that everything was unraveling. Mom and I need to talk about some things, I said carefully. Adult things. But I need you to know that whatever happens, it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. Olivia's green eyes went wide. Are you getting divorced? The directness of children, their ability to cut straight to the truth. I don't know yet, I said, which was itself a lie. I knew. I'd known since 2:47 a.m. 2 weeks ago, watching that blue dot pulse from an unfamiliar address. But whatever happens, you're going to be okay. I promise you that. She was quiet the rest of the drive home. Emily's car was already in the driveway when we arrived. She met us at the door, her face blotchy from crying, still in her work clothes. Olivia, honey, go upstairs, please, she said. I need to talk to your father. Olivia looked between us, then fled upstairs. I heard her bedroom door close. Emily turned to me and the mask finally dropped. No more performance, just raw desperation. How could you? She said. How could you do this without even talking to me first? The audacity of it. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. You want to talk about communication? I kept my voice level. Calm. Let's talk about the 473 phone calls to Trevor Blackwood. Let's talk about the hotels, the restaurants, the fake conference in Chicago. Let's talk about you missing your daughter's science fair so you could spend the weekend with him. Emily's face went white. You've been spying on me. I've been documenting your affair. There's a difference. It's not. She stopped. Started again. It's complicated. No, I said. It's actually very simple. You made choices. You chose to lie. You chose to cheat. You chose Trevor over your family. And now you get to live with the consequences of those choices. I was going to end it, she said desperately. I was going to tell you everything. I just needed time to figure out how. You had 4 months. You used that time to lie to me and to Olivia. You used our money to date him. You created fake calendar invites. You looked me in the eye every single day and lied. I took a step closer. Did you think about Olivia when you were at Lake Harmony? Did you think about her standing in that gymnasium looking for you? Emily's face crumpled. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. This was a choice. Hundreds of choices made deliberately over months. So that's it? Her voice rose, desperate. You're just going to destroy our family? Take Olivia away from me? I'm not taking Olivia from you. You abandoned her. I'm just making it official. Emily stared at me, tears streaming down her face. I love her. I love both of you. No, I said quietly. You love the idea of us. The family you can come home to after you're done with Trevor. The life you can maintain while having your affair. But that's over now. I walked past her, headed for the stairs. Please, she called after me. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll end it with Trevor. I'll do whatever you want. I paused, hand on the railing. Thought about all the times I'd imagined this moment. Thought about the rage that had sustained me through 2 weeks of documentation and planning. But standing there, Looking at my wife crying in our foyer, I felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just a vast, empty exhaustion. You should pack a bag, I said. The temporary custody order gives me primary physical custody. You can stay somewhere else while we work out the details. You can't keep me from my daughter. I'm not. You get supervised visitation. That's what the court ordered. I continued up the stairs, leaving her standing there. Olivia was in her room, headphones on, deliberately not listening. I knocked on her doorframe. She looked up, pulled off the headphones. "What's happening?" she asked. I sat on the edge of her bed, chose my words carefully. "Your mom and I are going to live separately for a while. You'll stay here with me, and Mom will visit. It's going to be different, and it's going to be hard, but we both love you very much." Is it because of Mom's boyfriend? The question hit like a physical blow. I stared at my 8-year-old daughter. "How did you—" I heard her on the phone sometimes, late at night. She sounded different. Olivia's voice was small. "I'm not stupid, Dad." I pulled her into a hug, felt her small body shake with sobs she'd probably been holding in for weeks. "No," I said into her hair. "You're not stupid. You're brilliant and perceptive, and none of this is your fault." We sat like that for a long time, while downstairs I heard Emily moving around, packing. The sound of drawers opening and closing. The same sounds from 2 weeks ago, when she'd packed for Chicago, when she'd packed for Trevor. The divorce took 6 months to finalize. Emily fought the custody arrangement initially, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge awarded me primary physical custody, with Emily getting alternating weekends and 1 evening per week, supervised at first, then unsupervised after she completed a co-parenting course. The assets were divided 50-50, but I was awarded reimbursement for the money she'd spent on the affair. $4,983, paid back over 12 months. Trevor Blackwood disappeared from her life 3 weeks after the papers were served. Apparently, the reality of dating a woman going through a messy divorce was less appealing than the fantasy of their affair. Emily told me this during one of our custody exchanges, her voice bitter. I didn't respond. Olivia adjusted better than I'd feared. She saw a therapist, talked through her feelings about the divorce. She stopped asking when Mom was coming home. Started calling my house home, and Emily's apartment Mom's place. Emily moved to a smaller firm, took a pay cut. I heard through mutual friends that she was dating someone new, someone from her gym. I didn't ask for details. I focused on Olivia. Helped with homework, attended every school event, made dinner every night. We developed new routines, new traditions. Friday night was movie night. Sunday mornings we went to the farmer's market. I learned to braid her hair for dance recitals. The rage I'd carried for those 2 weeks, the cold, calculating anger that had sustained me through documentation and legal proceedings, eventually faded. What replaced it wasn't forgiveness exactly, more like acceptance. Emily had made her choices. I'd made mine. We were both living with the consequences. 2 years later, I stood in the same gymnasium where Olivia had won second place at her science fair. She was 10 now, taller, more confident. This time she was competing in the regional spelling bee. Emily sat 3 rows behind me. We'd reached a kind of détente, a functional co-parenting relationship built on careful boundaries and Olivia's needs. She was seeing someone seriously now, a teacher named Mark, who seemed decent enough. I'd met him twice at school events. He was polite to me, good with Olivia. I didn't hate him. I didn't hate Emily anymore either. Olivia spelled phosphorescence correctly and advanced to the state finals. When they announced her name, both Emily and I stood and applauded. Our daughter beamed at both of us, pride and relief on her face. After the competition, we took Olivia for ice cream. All three of us. Awkward, but functional. Emily and I made small talk about Olivia's upcoming school trip, about the weather, about nothing important. Olivia chatted happily between us, oblivious or choosing to ignore the careful distance her parents maintained. When we dropped Emily back at her car, Olivia hugged her goodbye. "Love you, Mom," she said. "Love you too, baby," Emily replied. She glanced at me over Olivia's head. "Thank you for coming together for this." I nodded. She deserves it. On the drive home, Olivia was quiet. Then, "Do you think you and Mom will ever be friends?" I considered the question carefully. "I think we'll always be your parents. That's the most important thing." "But do you still love her?" The question I'd been dreading. The one I'd asked myself countless times over the past 2 years. "I love the family we made together," I said finally. "I love that she gave me you. But the marriage we had, that's over. And that's okay. Sometimes things end, and it's sad. But it's also the right thing." Olivia nodded, processing. "I think I get it." We drove in silence for a while. Then she said, "I'm glad I have you, Dad." "I'm glad I have you too, kiddo." That night, after Olivia went to bed, I sat in my home office, the same office where I'd documented Emily's affair 2 years ago. The fireproof safe was still there, containing the evidence I'd never needed to use in court. Emily's attorney had advised settlement once they'd seen the documentation. There had been no trial, no dramatic courtroom confrontation, just paperwork and signatures and the quiet dissolution of a marriage. I thought about opening the safe, looking at those pages one more time. The timeline, the call logs, the credit card statements, the complete record of how a marriage ends. But I didn't. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up the photos from today. Olivia on stage, confident and poised. Olivia with her participation ribbon, grinning at the camera. Olivia with her ice cream, chocolate sauce on her nose. These were the moments that mattered. Not the documentation of betrayal, but the evidence of showing up, of being present, of choosing every single day to be the parent my daughter deserved. I'd learned something in those 2 weeks of surveillance and documentation, something I carried with me still. You can't control other people's choices. You can only control your response. Emily had chosen her affair. I'd chosen Olivia. And in the end, that made all the difference. I closed the laptop and went upstairs. Checked on Olivia one more time. She was asleep, her spelling bee ribbon already pinned to her bulletin board beside all the others. A collection of moments when someone had shown up for her. I would keep showing up. Tomorrow, next week, next year. Through middle school and high school and college. Through every spelling bee and science fair and soccer game and dance recital. That was my promise. Not to Emily, not to the marriage we'd lost, but to the daughter we'd made together. And unlike Emily's promises, I intended to keep it. The notification that changed everything came at 2:47 a.m. on a Thursday in October. It ended a marriage, yes. It destroyed a family, in a sense. But it also taught me the most important lesson I've ever learned. Love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice. It's showing up, even when it's hard. It's being present, even when you'd rather be somewhere else. It's putting your child's science fair above your own desires. Emily never learned that lesson. Maybe she will someday. Maybe her new relationship with Mark will teach her what our marriage couldn't. But that's not my concern anymore. My concern is the 10-year-old girl asleep upstairs who needs to know that at least one of her parents will always choose her first. And I will. Every single time. That's not just a promise, it's a fact.